Parkinson. Broadcast on BBC Television, 10th of October 1971.
The first thing I'd like to ask you is that you're so much a movie actor as opposed to an actor who drifts, as so many do, between stage and screen. I wonder, when was the first time that you really had the ambition to be a screen actor rather than an actor?
If I was going to answer you really seriously, I'd say I tell the truth. The truth really was when I went to my mother's hairdresser in Golders Green when I was about 8 and read Film Weekly and thought, that's for me. That is true, in fact.
Yeah, yeah.
But later I became a stage actor, which, as you know, perhaps you don't know, stage actors are frightfully snobby. And you don't do the movies, you know, except for the lolly, which was great.
Yes.
You do the movie comes if it's great, a marvelous part, that's marvelous. It can be a movie star, but the theatre is all. The beauty of the English language, all that crap, you know. And it doesn't pay the rent. So I did really think for quite a long time that to be a theatre actor was the serious thing to do. And after 6.5 years of war, I came back and hadn't any rent money, the way you did, you know.
Yes.
I'd spent my gratuities, what I mean.
Yeah.
And so I was offered a bit of film and found that I got more for the half day in the film, doing nothing at all. I mean, sweet Fanny, nothing, than I got for the whole week doing the play at Kew Theatre.
Yeah.
So something had to change, and that's when I decided in 1947 that maybe the movies is a good idea.
I wonder why it is that so many, that in this country there is this snobbery about theatre as opposed to movies.
Movies are the most exciting part of an actor's life, I think, because you have to think for this awful, which one is it? That one, I don't know, one of those awful cameras. You have to think, because it photographs everything that's going on in your head. Whereas as a straight stage actor, you have that marvelous thing of living life in front of you, who feed you, amuse you, give you sustenance, nourishment, and all those things, whereas in the movie you've only got that. And it's much more exciting. Now, the snobbery of it, I don't know where it comes from. It is particular in Britain, I know that. Also, what is a frightful, wicked thing to say, is that they do not transplant very comfortably.
Yes.
I mean, a great stage actor very seldom becomes a great movie actor.
There are
two different crafts.
Yes, I mean, Guinness you can think of as somebody who can do the two.
Do the two,
but
yeah.
there are very few.
There are very few.
I do agree with you. You became very much the glamour boy of British movies, didn't you? Suffering the same kind of adulation the Beatles did. What was it like?
Bloody hell.
Was it? Really?
Yes, it really was. And there is no other, I mean, I know you shouldn't swear on the television, and I promised, incidentally, I broke my promise now to a lady that I call my marmalade aunt. She's not really my aunt, and she's not really made of marmalade, but she does make marvellous marmalade, and her name is Gladys Cooper. And Gladys said today on the telephone, she's in bed, not very well, and she's going to watch us tonight. She said, you can work with Parkinson, he's all right. So that relieved me.
All right at what?
But she also said, no swear words, dear, they're ugly, unnecessary and stupid. So I'm limited tonight because I can't use all my lovely words, you know.
You shouldn't feel too restricted.
Anyway, my marmalade aunt did say that, and she's quite right, and taught me a lesson again about not doing, you know, using oaths because they're useful to get over it. I've deflected myself again. What was your question?
I was asking you about the days when you were the glamour boy of the British Film Ministry.
That. Well, bloody hell is where I broke my word.
Yes.
But it really was. It was hell, because, you know, I'm not. I'm 50 now, I'm fat. But then I was thinner and younger, and I wasn't a glamour boy at all. But in some extraordinary way, I became, or was forced, actually I was moulded into.
You're processed.
I was processed, like a cheese. Which I'm very grateful for. I'm being serious about this, because it was 17 years of processing by the rank organisation. And instead of turning me out as a sort of duplicating machine, I became a screen actor. But it was entirely manufactured. Yeah. And somebody's done it today. I'm sitting with my left profile on the camera.
You are, yes.
Great. Well, that was it was all about.
Why do you say that?
I was Loretta Young for life. Only this profile all the time.
Really?
Because it's prettier. This is
Could we see the other side?
Yeah, this is awful.
It's for the first time on British television, this, is it?
What?
For the first time on British television, we're seeing the...
Well, you know, I threw the image away and broke it and said, oh, it doesn't matter about my angles. It matters like hell. So go on.
What was the... It's interesting how you get processed. I mean, what did they do to you that made you aware that you were being processed? Was it press agent?
Sewed up my fly buttons to start with. Sort of. Then I realised I'd arrived because now I was a sex symbol. So I had a little zip at the side, which is never very comfortable, as you all probably know. I thought, God, this is it. Now I'm a star. And it was horrid. I mean, I know that the Beatles, the boys in the Beatles, have gone through the same thing. It isn't pleasant. Strange enough, it is not success. It's a sort of animal crudity, which is really, in fact, rather insulting. I think if you're a kid, if you're young, it's perhaps rather exciting. But I was 27 when I started, I'd had the war. So I'm sort of a bit more grown up. And to go out in public, because girls will either try and cut your hair off with scissors, which is dangerous to 500 of, or scream, I love you, I want to marry you, and fall dead, Well, I wish they would fall dead. I'm not being, I'm not being rotten to my fans and knocking my fans. I don't mean that at all. They didn't make me. They always used to scream at you, we made you, we put you where you are. Well, they didn't. I put me where I was, Yes. But when I was wearing myself out, because at a certain age, like 40, they begin to lose a certain amount of interest. You're not very pretty after 40, And so they moved off to Bill Haley. Tapping feet went diddling off Bill Haley. By the grace of God, one realised this in time, that you can't go flogging it away, your face is dropping, your bald spot showing, all that stuff happens. You've got to go with it, catch the trolley, the new trolley that comes.
Yes.
And the new thing that was happening, as I think, I'm afraid I've said before, is that pop was beginning to come before we even knew it, but the wind was blowing. Haley had come in with rock and roll. And a new form of worship was about to descend on us. And it wasn't going to be any more for Joan Crawford, for me, for Stuart Granger, for Margaret Lockwood, or for Marilyn. It was going to be for the pop boys, for people of their own age and group. And by the heavens, I got out in time.
Yes.
I got into straight acting before it sort of gave me up.
Yes.
Otherwise, I think I'd have been now today, probably. Washing up, I did that rather well.
Were there no compensatory factors, though, Dirk? I mean,
yes,
the money,
of
for
course.
instance.
The lolly was good, yeah. I had a Rolls Royce before the pop boys did, I can't drive, which is joking. I had a jolly pretty house, and I was able to give people I loved sort of prezzies and things, holidays. Oh, super thing, of course, there were great compensations, but there was always that shame, which I felt as a man of 27 or 28 or 30 or 40, of being actually older than I should be in a job that really was for younger people by far.
Yes.
And I was trying terribly hard to be an actor so that, they wouldn't sort of lose me, because I love it. I absolutely worship it, and I hope to God I'll go on doing acting, But you've got to keep with it all the time and not be a bore.
But when you did...
I'm probably being now.
No, you're not indeed, because it's fascinating. But when you did break the
I'm sure
image...
good at words.
Which you said, a wordsmith, like Miss Jackson. But when you did break the image, did you find the fans were in fact resentful that you'd done it?
I don't think they were resentful at all. What was extraordinary is that I made a film called Victim, which was about homosexuality. And that wasn't what broke the image or, made them leave. But the thing that disappointed them was that I'd admitted to being 40 or over. I had little grey temples and, all that crap was going on. With lacquer and spray, walking rather as if... And now I'm 50, I know that I was overacting at 40. As if I'd sort of got, some awful thrombosis thing. That's what broke it. It was the age thing. And it was all, as I said, you're coming very calmly and very smoothly, very quietly, and absolutely irrevocably, is that the word?
Yes.
But without any question, the pattern and feeling was changing and pop was coming in.
Yes.
It was because of my age. It was the age thing that broke it.
Yes. What kind of evidence did you have of audience involvement in the kind of parts you played? I mean, up until you did Victim, I mean, you played more or less, well, not the same parts, but samey parts, hadn't you? I mean, it was all sort of...
Well, I was always little boy looking for God, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What happened after Victim, where you did play the homosexual? I mean, what happened then? What did people write to you about?
Nothing for 18 months.
Nothing at all?
Absolutely stinker nothing. Then I thought, really, I've made the wrong decision now. I've really got cooked this time.
Yes.
Because nothing did happen at all. There was no work.
Yes.
Because nobody could quite place me. I wasn't 40 anymore. I wasn't 20 anymore. I was nothing.
Yes.
So it was very hard. I really had a bad year. But it was worth it. It was worth hanging around for it. But
Yes.
nothing happened. I never got a fan letter again. I don't mind about fan letters. But whereas there was 2,000 or 3,000 a week that used to come in, these portable things saying, I love you, and seal with a loving kiss and all that, there was nothing. There really was absolutely bloody nothing. And the wind, as my mother would say, up your kilt.
Shortly before, well, it was before Victim, wasn't it? You made your first film in America.
Yes, perhaps my last one, too.
Yeah. It was a Song to Remember, was it? What was it called?
Well, I call it Song to Forget.
Song to Forget. Anyway, you played Franz Liszt.
I'm not quite sure. I played somebody that played a piano.
Yeah. You didn't like America.
Now, you can't really say that America, the size it is
Well,
Hollywood. Now, come along.
Right.
It's like saying you don't like English, you don't like Gerrard's Cross. I loathed Hollywood with a healthy loathing, but then I did arrive as they were pulling down a place called the Garden of Allah, which was the end of the Hollywood as I never knew it, and as people before had. It was the melting of the old christening cake.
Yeah.
The bubbles were falling. It was dreadful, and they were trying to, get against you in television because you were destroying us all. So they were trying to make old-fashioned movies again for the kids, as they call them, in that patronizing way. And this was going to be a lovely, lovely romantic story. I was taking over from Cornell Wilde, and I was going to play piano, and I was going to be a great smash with 85 minutes of music, and everyone was going to just think it was darling. And they'd even found an original Liszt tune they were going to make pop. Well, none of those things happened, it just did not work. And I left Hollywood, and they called up after a little while and said, how does it feel to be a star? Well, I thought I'd been doing quite well for about 10 years before. But I wasn't a star, and when the film folded, which it did after Radio City Music Hall, which is quite big with all those Rockettes opening their legs like nutcrackers. And we had Vestal Virgins and God knows what. And then we had the film, and then something else came on, and it was enormous. And we broke the record, and we packed it out. So they were quite sure that they got a great hit, and that people did want to see piano, and they did want to play Liszt. Yeah. But unfortunately, it left Radio City Music Hall and nobody else ever went, because the word of mouth was so vast, don't touch it, that nobody ever saw it again. And then they never phoned me, I think, for about 12 years. So.
Do you still feel that you're not accepted in America as a...
I'm accepted. I haven't got a funny thing on my passport.
Accepted in the professional sense? You're being wicked, you know exactly what I mean.
No, sorry.
What was the question you're going to ask me now, aren't you?
No, no.
Oh. You're not sorry? I'm sorry.
No, you said, are you?
No, I asked you. No. You said,
are you accepted or something in America?
No, as a box office star, you see.
Oh, no, well, that's a different thing.
Yes, that's what I meant.
No, I'm not.
And I mean, has this, do you think, had an adverse effect on your career?
No, I don't think so.
No?
No, I've decided a long time ago to be a specialised actor, and unfortunately to make films that nobody ever goes to see. So, I'm lumbered with it,
Yeah.
But I am now on a marvellous list in America, where I'm now called, what do they call them? A selected audience player, or something. And this is a new thing, because much to my astonishment and surprise, at my round-faced old age now, with the serious films that nobody would take seriously when we tried to make them in England with Losi and I in those days, when it was hell to break into British movies, against the exhibitors and the distributors with their cloth caps, we suddenly found that the youth of America, and the youth of England too, were coming to see the movies that we made. They didn't want to go and see the other ones as much as they weren't all the Sound of Music things.
Yeah. Those films that you made were with Losi, it was a very fruitful period of association, wasn't it, between
It
those?
is.
It is.
Not in the past.
Yes. But in effect, you still had this problem, as you said, with the industry, didn't you, about making the movies?
Yeah.
You had to put your money and your reputation on a limb to do it yourself. Is this what perhaps caused the disenchantment in you, disenchantment enough for you to go and live abroad, as you did 2 years ago?
Awfully difficult thing to say that, really. Ultimately, I have to answer you honestly and say yes. It simply wasn't the sort of work here, which is strange to say this. And the last film I made in England was with Jack Clayton, a film we were all terribly proud of called Our Mother's House,
yes.
Which for various reasons wasn't successful. But it was a disaster as a film. Jack, I don't think, has made another film since.
No.
And we did try frightfully hard to make a new kind of movie, had a different sort of attitude to cinema. Nobody really wanted it. And I thought, oh, hell, go somewhere where they do make the movies, and I don't get paid for these movies. You work in lieu of salary, you know, in the hope you might get a bonus if it makes a profit. So one's not a rich man. I'm not rich. I never have been, in fact. But all we wanted to do was to be rich in making films. It sounds awfully pompous, this.
No.
For England, you know, for Britain, to have a new form of cinema. To expect, we could not do it. We couldn't break it.